Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Got another good one for you guys here today. And today's video we're going to be talking about AKAINU, and I'm going to be talking about why AKAINU will fight Sabo and not Luffy at the end of the series. Now, this is something that I personally always felt was going to happen ever since Sabo's reintroduction in Dressrosa. This is something I've always felt strongly about, to the point where I think it's written in stone and there's no way it's not going to happen. And there's many reasons I feel this way, but today we're going to go over the 5 main reasons why I believe Sabo will fight AKAINU. So starting with the first reason, Sabo's character was introduced after the death of Ace. Now, we all know Oda is one of the greatest mangaka of all time. He's one of the greatest writers. Obviously, he has his mistakes like everyone else. He's human, but one thing he's been really special at is putting in subtle things in the beginning that he later reveals later on in the end. He's always had a plan. He would never put something in there without a reason. And it always makes me wonder, why would he introduce the character of Sabo from scratch after Ace's death? The earliest we've ever even had a mention of Sabo's name was literally from Ace as he was dying in Luffy's arms. And then after he died, of course, we had the ASL flashback. We got to see fleshed out flashback including Sabo, what he's like, his personality and everything. And then he was reintroduced in Dressrosa. Now, every character, especially characters that are important to the story, main characters, Straw Hats, Luffy's family, and so on, every character has a purpose and every character has a character arc. And what reason would Oda have to bring in, to create from scratch after the death of Ace, a brother of Ace and a brother of Luffy's, if his character was not there to avenge Ace? So to me, his character was introduced for the sole purpose of avenging Ace. And that's my first reason. Second reason, somebody needs to inherit Ace's will. Again, if we look back at Marineford, Whitebeard's speech, legendary speech, we all remember it. One thing he mentioned was Roger's will and Ace's will. And if you look closely, he mentioned them separately. He mentioned someone would need to inherit Roger's will, as we see Luffy, of course, has inherited Roger's will, and someone will need to inherit Ace's will. So to me, I took this as someone different. Luffy has inherited Roger's will. We know this. This is a given. So who's going to inherit Ace's will? To me, this is Sabo. It's obviously Sabo, and it has to be Sabo. And one of the biggest evidences for this is the fact that Sabo literally inherited Ace's devil fruit, and by doing so, in part, inherited Ace's will. It's symbolic in a sense, where by eating that devil fruit, he inherits Ace's will. And he tends to have some of the personalities of Ace as well. Like, ever since eating the fruit, he's become more hot-tempered in a sense, just like Ace. Like we see with Jesus Burgess, when he mentions Ace, we see that fire that we saw in Ace come out of Sabo. And for me, this is a big reason why Sabo will be the one to fight AKAINU, to carry on Ace's will. And by killing AKAINU, he will finally avenge his brother. And the third reason is AKAINU, as I just said, AKAINU needs to die, and Luffy is not a killer. We can look through the whole story from chapter 1, Romance Dawn, all the way up until now. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm 99.999% sure Luffy has never killed a single person, whether directly or indirectly. Definitely not directly. And I don't think this pattern is non-deliberate. I think it's very deliberate, and I think it's something Oda has set as a huge and very important character trait for Luffy. And he's never going to give that up. Luffy is not that kind of guy. So I don't think Luffy will ever kill anybody in the story, all the way up until the end. He's just not that kind of guy. Now, there are many others around him, say a Zoro, say a Sabo, say a Sanji, perhaps, maybe, who have no problem killing if it needs to be done. And this is a strong reason why I believe AKAINU will fight Sabo, because we've seen a lot of villains throughout the story. We've seen great villains like Doflamingo, Sir Crocodile, Kaido, Blackbeard, and to me, the most irredeemable villain of them all not to say he's the worst in person, but he's the most irredeemable, and he would have to face death, is AKAINU. Now, some could say the same for Blackbeard, some could say the same for Kaido, but for me, for the sole purpose of killing Ace, AKAINU, right then and there, it's set in stone that one way or another, his fate is going to end with him dying. And for me, this is a big reason, because Sabo inheriting Ace's will be the one to kill AKAINU, because Luffy does not kill. This way, Sabo's character arc can come to a finish. Sabo will be the one to kill AKAINU because he has no problems killing, and AKAINU will be gone without Luffy needing to break a significant character trait like killing an enemy. Moving on to reason number 4, and this is just a simple reason. Luffy has too much on his plate. Like, we all know Monkey D. Luffy is the main character. He is the protagonist of this series, the protagonist of One Piece. However, most people that think AKAINU and Luffy will fight, I think we can all agree that if, and it's a big if, but if AKAINU and Luffy were to fight, it would have to be in the final war. Last arc of the series, Luffy is Pirate King. He's already defeated Blackbeard. Now he's fighting the world government to overthrow the world government. That would be the purpose of the war. Now, let me ask you this. If Luffy's purpose for the final war is to overthrow the government that has been oppressing people, that has been the cause for the slavery, the harassment of the fishermen people, celestial dragons abusing everyone over the past 800 years, and Luffy's goal is to erase the 800 years of pain and suffering that they've caused to the world, then what good is fighting AKAINU gonna do? AKAINU is not the one who created this world. Imu is the one who created this world. AKAINU is a victim of the world in which Imu created. Just like Blackbeard, just like Kaido, just like Vivi, just like Sabo himself. They're all victims to the world that was created by Imu. So Luffy's purpose for the war is to overthrow the government. That means he's gonna have to fight Imu, because Imu is the one to overthrow. And I can't see Luffy fighting AKAINU in a full-fledged battle, final arc type battle, or final boss in an arc type battle, and then in the same arc fighting Imu. So the way I see it, AKAINU will have to fight someone else while Luffy fights Imu. Luffy simply has too much on his plate already. He also has to fight Blackbeard. Some speculate he will fight Shanks. How many characters can Luffy fight? Where Oda has told us now that there's 3 years left of One Piece. So I don't see how Luffy can spend 6 months, 8 months, 10 months of manga chapters fighting AKAINU. I don't think that will happen. And I think this is a major reason why Sabo will fight AKAINU, because Luffy, to put it quite simply, will have to delegate AKAINU to somebody else as he fights Imu. And I think Sabo is just that guy. So moving on to the 5th reason, and this is relevant to the latest chapter we just got, chapter 1054. And this is, AKAINU is a soldier of the world government, and Sabo is a soldier of the Revolutionary Army. Now, the world government and the Revolutionary Army are direct enemies, more so than anyone else, more so than other pirates, than whoever else, bounty hunters, whoever else in the story there is. The number one enemy of the world government is the Revolutionary Army. And of course, the number one enemy of the Revolutionary Army is the world government. Now, the ones in charge and the ones pulling the strings of these two organizations are, of course, Monkey D. Dragon and Imu. The faces of these organizations, Monkey D. Dragon, and perhaps Imu, perhaps the Gorosei, perhaps AKAINU, the Fleet Admiral, maybe Kong, Chief of Staff. However, I don't think there was any denying that the main soldiers, the number one soldiers, the number one competent soldiers, the one who are sent out to get shit done, and by force if need be, of both sides, are AKAINU and Sabo. Those are the frontline number one soldiers of each side. And these sides we already know are clashing, and from the beginning of the story, since Logtown and Dragon's introduction, and I believe he said the world is waiting for our answer. We've always known since then that one day, however long it's going to be, the Revolutionary Army and the world government are going to have an all-out war. And who are the main two soldiers on each side? AKAINU on the world government side, and Sabo on the Revolutionary Army side. Now, to bring up the latest chapter, we just got the news that Sabo and his and a few good men, so to speak, were able to infiltrate, take back Kuma, burn down the flag, fight the admirals, and leave with everything they wanted. That's a declaration of war in the same way Luffy did at Enies Lobby. Now, with this, they specifically mentioned that Sabo has become, in terms of hype, just as big, if not bigger, than Dragon. To me, this is Oda giving us the time now to build up Sabo so that he is seen as someone capable of fighting somebody like AKAINU. And even in this chapter, the last few panels of this chapter focuses on two men, Sabo and the hype that he's getting and how everyone is celebrating him and the trouble he is causing to the world government, and AKAINU. And he is furious because his admirals couldn't stop this man. And if his admirals can't stop this man, there's only one man left that he can rely on to stop him, and that's himself. And what do we hear him say at the end? They can all come after us, whoever it is, we're going to take them down. So I think this chapter that we just got is a huge milestone in pushing us towards this fight. And I don't think this fight will be coming anytime soon, but I do think this fight has been written down in stone ever since we figured out Sabo was alive. And Sabo's entire character, his whole character arc, is to avenge Ace. That's his purpose. Luffy has plenty of purpose. Luffy did everything he possibly could throughout the entire Summit War saga. And he almost died multiple times. Magellan and Impel Down, Marineford, he cut years off his life. And he actually managed to free Ace, but through Ace's own fault, through his own mistake, he died, and he died in Luffy's arms. So, thinking back, Luffy can at least accept the fact and live in peace with the fact that he did everything he could. Sabo, on the other hand, wasn't even there. Now we all know why, obviously, but for him, in his own shoes, that's no excuse. His brother needed him, and he wasn't there, and his brother died. And we see at the mere mention of Ace's name how furious he got with Jesus Burgess, whereas Luffy can say with a straight face to Tama that Ace is dead. So we see the contrast there with how they both take Ace's death, and how one is with peace with his efforts he put into it, and the other feels extremely, extremely guilty that he wasn't there and feels he needs to do something about it. And I think he is going to do something about it. Come the end of the story, we're going to have an amazing, fleshed out fight between Sabo and AKAINU, and AKAINU will finally die, Sabo will be able to kill him, and the story will just keep going. So that's going to do it for today's video, guys. Let me know if you agreed with those reasons. Let me know if you disagreed with those reasons. Let me know what you think is going to happen in the final war. If you liked the video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe if you're new, click the notification bell, and I'll have a new video coming up soon. Thanks, guys, and have a good day.